Does she have a mic? She can use that mic? Is this one on?
It's on.
Okay.
You can just talk as well.
Yeah, it's okay. Free up here.
Can we see a little bit of that sign? Next, like, flank it.
Flank it?
Like, have it.
Like the Carol Merrill thing?
Oh.
Okay. Ready?
How are we doing? Flanking the sign.
Flank.
Flanking.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right.
So thank you so much for coming here today. I'm Laura. I'm the organizer of Women Startup. Many of you heard the story already. The group started like 4 years ago with a focus on women startups, founders in technology, and as a support group to help them develop the skills they needed to start a company in technology, but most importantly to find the support and the community they needed to find the strength in many cases, to really start up. So it's been like almost 4 years. We have almost 800 women founders in the group.
Wow.
Recently, I've been going through major life changes, like divorce, switching houses, moving, schools, illnesses, and all the stress that you can add to your life on top of startups and switching industries as well. So I went through pretty shitty times, as they would say. And during these times, I stopped doing the meetups because I just didn't find the strength or the time or the motivation even to really get women together. Usually, I was like the inspirational talker, the leader, and I just, during these times, I just didn't find that I had the light to share. And many, actually, when I encountered them in many occasions, they will go like with amazing memories of the times that we shared together and the inspiration that they found, not just in me, but actually the community we were building as women founders in technology. So going through these very difficult times now, like it's a comeback. I'm still in the technology world, but I realized, like, going through these big changes, I'm kind of like hiding myself. And then I realized, as I say, I didn't want to expose probably myself, or not just expose myself, but I just didn't find, again, the motivation to really dedicate the time, or probably I just didn't have the energy to share when I didn't even have it for myself, probably.
Yep.
But then I realized, and that's why I decided to change and shift the direction of the group towards women empowerment and personal development, is that even though, in talking about startups, even though now I'm in a much better position than I was 4 years ago when I was starting the other startup and the group together, is that if you're not good inside, like in balance with yourself, your mind, your spirit, your heart, you can have all the things that you are looking for in the company world, like in the industries, investors, clients. But if you are not good with yourself, then you won't be able to succeed anyways. So you really need to find the balance inside you to really be able to convince investors. You can have an amazing product, but if you are not able to, or find partners or anything, because that reflects on yourself, and people feel it, that you are not really convinced, you are not in entire balance. So that's why every time, I found amazing friends in the group, and many times when we come together, or sometimes I find them in events or in meetups or anything, they all usually go like, Laura, where have you been? We missed the meeting so much, or how have you been? And this is kind of like where I realized that kind of like to come up out of the ground for myself to help others is also a way to help myself. So that's why I decided to do like a comeback of the group towards being able to succeed in not just in the startup world, but with your life and thrive. Like it says here, co-thriving together.
Good.
It's basically the power of community and women helping women to succeed. So I'm very happy that we are talking about this.
Thank you. That's
Having been through many
a very good lead-in for our topic tonight.
major life changes. So Lisa,
Take it away.
the audience is yours.
All right. Thank you, Laura. Well, thank you all for showing up tonight. I know it wasn't easy. There's been a lot of rain lately. Does anyone have any burning questions or platforms before we get started? Anyone come with anything on your mind? No? Okay. So we're going to talk, our topic is 3 tips to help you get through some big life changes. And I was wondering, just a little survey in the group. So it sounds like Laura has already given us some of her background. You've gone through a career change, a divorce, a location change. Any other major things happening? That's
But
big.
recently, moving houses. But
Moving
I've already
houses.
moved in 5 countries and 7 cities.
Wow, okay. Anyone else having major life changes going on? Want to talk about? No? No? Okay, all right. So who I am, my name is Lisa Bennett. I actually spent half my life in high tech, and I left high tech, and that's kind of part of this story, actually. Right now, I am a breakthrough coach for women, and particularly, I work with women who are going through infertility. I did that myself, and I found that it was an extremely difficult time to go through, and it would have been very helpful to have help at the time, coaching help. So what I have learned in working with women who are going through it, and also I've interviewed quite a few women who went through it years ago, is I've learned quite a bit about what it takes for us to get back to happy. So I'd like to talk about that tonight. And if you can forgive me, I am on week 2 of a virus, and my head is full, and I'm on Sudafed. And I discovered that I can't memorize things when I'm on Sudafed, so I actually have notes tonight. I don't normally do notes. So, we're going to start with a little handout. So it's Shannon here has some handouts, and we can do a little survey of any major life changes you're going through right now. Would you like to join us?
Going through a divorce. So
Oh my goodness, that's huge. Okay. So I found this online. I found this online, and it has weighted stress numbers for each of these events in your life. And if you have a pen or a pencil, you could do a little exercise. When I went through the events I'm going to talk about, I was basically playing this thing like a bingo card, and I was trying to do the cover the bingo card. So it was big. And what it shows you here is that, thank you, hon.
So when you score like recently,
Within the last year.
within the last year.
Yeah. And what it shows you is that if your score gets to 300, you have an 80% chance of getting sick. And I'm going to put mental illness in there too, because you're also at risk for being crazy. Let's see, I have a clipboard. Here, would you like a clipboard? Your leg's not working. Shannon has a clipboard. So I'll give you a couple minutes to work on that. I'll put down like 3 minutes, and we'll try to tally your points at the end here.
So, for example, I see ones like different work, like responsibilities. So what should be my score?
It's a weighted, so the weight is here, so you put that to the right, or if you've gone through it multiple times in the last year, you multiply it. Yeah. Oh, thank you. All sorts of swag here. Anyone get bingo yet? 300 is serious stress. I'm actually afraid to score myself for this story. I'm sure I was way over the top.
Filling out this sheet is one of the.
Is it stressful? Is it stressful? I'm sorry. If it's stressful, you don't have to do it. I'm not here to stress out anyone.
Christmas approaching.
A lot of people get stressed out when Christmas is approaching. In the U.S., it's a very stressful holiday. You're getting together with people that perhaps you don't get along really well with. Yeah. You can make a rough estimate. Doesn't it say on the back what the scale is for the scoring? I think. Right? 300 was 150 to 299 was about 50% chance of getting sick, and then less than 150 is about 30% chance of getting sick. Or crazy.
So here I have like 4 events.
Uh-huh.
How much? So what score? It's from 1 till 100 or
This one was worth 26.
Ah.
That's
okay,
26,
so
that's 24, that one's 20, and that one is 20. So it looks like you're under 150. So you're good.
Okay.
So I have 284 just because I didn't
Woo!
add more.
You can keep that. That's just an exercise to give you a feel for. So those are, I believe they're doctors who created this scale. So just be aware of what you're doing. So let's say 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the events around my life that covered about a year, and I walked into this myself. Well, first I was laid off of the high-tech industry, and I'd been in the industry half my life, and I decided I was never going back. So those are 2 large stressors. I decided to move. I moved counties, and I had to build a house. In the course of the move, I was building a new business, and I was taken back to court by my ex-husband, who wrested most of my custody away because I was moving counties, and he decided the children should stay in Santa Clara County, and the judge said that was fine. And then I had left my friends, my community, my church, my network, that social net. And I went to a county where I knew one woman and one family, and they were all busy. So when you layer these stressors and then you're starting a business by yourself, it can be a lonely place, and it can be very alienating, and it's really hard on your body. But I knew I was going to have to get back to happy, because I had walked into this and I knew I was going to be missing my social network. So I discovered 3 things that helped get back to happy. And there was one baseline, though, that I have to mention. I have a daily practice of gratitude, and I always have had. I'm really grateful, especially when I moved to those mountains. I committed to sleeping outdoors every night unless it was raining. And sleeping under the stars, I always feel very, very grateful. And the second is that I have a practice of exercise. I was a former NC2A athlete. I've been an athlete all my life, and it's really easy for me to just put on my sneakers and go running with my dog. So exercise wasn't a problem for me, and that's good. Sorry, in stressful situations. And the third is that I know how to breathe, because I've been through yoga training, and I'm really familiar with breathing. So do you all know yoga breathing? I know you probably do. I was wondering, would you like to take a really short exercise and learn just a really simple yoga breathing? It's helpful. You got to just sit up straight in your chair. It'll only take a few minutes. And bodyguards are trained to do this because they are often put in fear situations. And there's been research that shows that the brain is unable to do this breathing and actually be in a fear state at the same time. So it's a great thing that you can pull out if you're ever afraid or you're getting really emotional about something. You can pull out this breathing technique. So you breathe in through your belly, so you're making your belly big, and up into upper lungs. I'm sorry, I'm all congested. And then out through the back of your throat. And if you can count when you do that, so you're inhaling, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So do that just a few times. And it's very calming. I did this in court a lot. Court makes me very anxious. And that's it. That's a very simple technique. So if you are focusing on your breath and counting at the same time, neurologically, we don't know how to switch into the fear state. There's a lot of research on this. So it's a good technique to have. There you go. Breathing. Okay, so those were my 3 existing practices. I had gratitude, I had exercise, and I had breathing. So the 3 things I needed to do to get back to happy, and I recommend this for everyone. First, I needed the social network. If you're going through a divorce, if you've moved, you might have left your social network or it has been somehow severed from you, and social network is really important. Frankly, I can't talk to the men's social network because I'm not part of it, but women, it's extremely important for us to have girlfriends or female friends to talk to. I immediately jumped into as many social networks as I could. This is the way I do things. So I joined the Santa Cruz Newcomers group. I joined a female leads group. The Not From Here group in Santa Cruz, it's a lot of women who came from this area over the hill to Santa Cruz, and that's their very strong, powerful business owners, most of them. Oh my goodness, I joined a very large church. I joined 3 boards of directors, which I don't recommend. I'm now a member of 2 boards of directors. But I thrust my fingers into this network in Santa Cruz County and discovered there are only 250,000 people in Santa Cruz County. That's a quarter of the population of San Jose. But it's heavily networked like a small town. Now I can walk into a room of about 30 people in Santa Cruz County, and I'm almost guaranteed to know somebody in that room, which is very cool for me because I really needed the support network. So whatever you do, if you're in a major life change where you have lost your social net, find new people to support you, because we need that. There's a study that's done of children when they're young. They're 6 years old. They put 2 boys in a room with 2 chairs, and they say, we'll be back in 15 minutes. You guys, entertain yourselves. The boys put their chairs side by side, and they talk looking out this way. This is what boys do. And it's just natural for boys. This is how they communicate because they're the hunters, right? They're always scanning the environment and they talk out like this. But girls, then they put the 2 6-year-old girls together. They take their chairs and they move them face to face and they sit knee to knee, touching knees, and jabber, jabber, jabber right back face to face, right? This is what girls do. And so we are so used to being socialized and having girlfriends from a very early age that if we lose that, it's huge. So whatever your network is, if you feel like you're missing it, reach out and get a bigger one.
And how did you find the new network? You just send up the meetups or which?
Good question, because I was so new to the county. The man who was my mentor in my job told me to try the newcomers group. I'd never heard of newcomers, but apparently every large city has a newcomers group. Well, I joined the Santa Cruz newcomers, and the average woman in that group has been in it since the 80s. I mean, they're in this group forever, so it's kind of a misnomer. But I guess they all met each other this way. They have all sorts of activities.
I have a question.
Yes.
Were you more eager to just have acquaintances, like just being able to surround yourself with people,
Uh-huh.
or were you really lacking like the deep conversation? Because you will have several casual get-togethers and be busy in that sense of feeling, with company, but not
Yes.
like the soul company. Like,
That's a really good question. That's not what I thought you were going to ask. I thought you were going to ask, was I doing it just to meet people or to network my business? Because I was also starting up a new business.
thinking about
The deep conversations.
The deep conversation, because it's very different not to say,
You're right.
I want to go out just because I don't want to be by myself.
Right.
And I want to feel surrounded by people, even if it's just acquaintances. Or you're just missing like the deep soul, maybe.
That's a good question. I would say it was harder for me to meet people even in the meetup groups or the women's groups that were close girlfriends. And it is only through the entrepreneur program that I'm in now that I have met the close girlfriends. We're all very vulnerable with each other. We're all starting up businesses together. And we can all talk about anything together, so that's been really helpful. Hello. Welcome. We're recording right now. Have a seat. If you would like, Shannon, do you have any more forms? You could take the little survey we just took about any major life stressors going on in your life right now. I'm Lisa.
Hi, I'm Vita.
Mita?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
I'm the woman's right.
Okay. So where were we? Oh, so the first was I knew I needed a social net. And the second, think about it, the second, Lisa. Oh, yeah. So I bet a number of us in the room have discovered this, but when I started up a new business and I had to build a house and I had to network my new business and all these things were flipping at the same time, right? The things that really give me joy fell off the plates. The things that really light me up. And I was actually in a group a lot like this one day. There were 20 of us in the room. And a woman said, okay, I want you all to write down the top 3 things that you love to do that give you energy and joy and passion that you haven't been doing lately. So what I'd like you all to do is, you're going to partner up with somebody, and you're going to chat for about 6 minutes about 3 things that have fallen off your plate that you're not doing anymore. And then we'll get back and we'll talk about it. Okay? So you two can partner up. That you're not doing anymore. For whatever reason, these passions are not being actively worked in your life anymore. Let's see. Can you two partner up? And can you partner up with him? I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Jeff. How's our recording going? Yeah?
You can see now. So we have, this is the actual output, so that's what's on your kind of Facebook page and what's on our YouTube page.
Nice.
And these are different like shots that we have set up of cameras, and we're kind of just switching them and producing in real time.
How
So
many cameras?
we actually only have 2 cameras, plus we have a camera in the audience, but we're able to create different layouts based on the cameras, so we're able to crop stuff out and stuff. So it's,
How much of me are you seeing? Is it like here up?
so it's different. So we have a wide shot where it's like kind of everything, and then we have a narrow shot where you're like close to the table. We put a narrow shot, so it's just like kind of
Oh, okay.
like closer up to you.
So right now this is live?
This is live, yeah, exactly. This is what's live right now. So if you go to the Facebook page, you should be able to see that.
Nice. Thank you. Hi, welcome. I'm Lisa. Mira?
Amira. Yes.
Amira. Amira, nice to meet you. Do you want to take this seat? She was in it, but she's working with Jeff right now. Yeah, you want to do the exercise together? All right. Oh, what a pretty dress. Look at that. It's lovely. Yeah. Yeah, I need to sit next to Amira. So you're talking about 3 things in your life that give you passion, that give you joy, that give you happiness that you're not doing right now. You did them at some point, or maybe you would like to do them and you're not doing them yet.
And if I'm doing it right now, doesn't count?
Doesn't count. Well, you could talk about how you hadn't done it and you took it back up again. That's fine. Yeah, because I'll be talking about that.
Okay, that's
Okay. Okay.
If you don't mind. When
Do you need me to do anything?
Absolutely not. When you guys start back up, we'll just,
Yeah, we got 3 minutes. Okay, we're at 3 minutes. You can switch partners if you haven't both started yet. Yeah, okay. Oh, we're not? Okay. How's it going? You about ready to wrap up? Just chatting? Okay, okay, okay. You about ready? Okay. Everybody ready to reconvene? Sorry. Good. Excellent. Would anyone like to share something that came out on their top 3 list? There was a lot of chatting going on. Someone want to share? Something that's fallen off the plate? Want to do it again?
The passion for singing.
Singing! Oh, we have singers in the room. Nice. Singers. Okay. Travel. Travel, okay. Anything else?
We also shared creativity, wanting more creative outlets.
Nice. Okay. Anyone back there? Anything you came up with it?
We share getting out with friends.
Getting out with friends? Okay. Good. That's the social network part. What came up on my list was the first one was dance, which I hadn't done in a very long time because I married a man who didn't dance. And the second one was soap making. I'm a crafter, and I love making soap. It's an exothermic reaction. It makes me feel like a witch. It's really, really fun. And the third one was gardening. I'm actually a master gardener, but when I moved to Aptos, I stopped gardening because I'm in a forest now. It's a long story, but I have not gardened since I moved there. But when we went around the circle in this room, then another woman said, okay, now take one and do it. So one of your three things, do it. And I wasn't sure how to get that started, but when you open your heart to possibility of something happening in your life and you're ready, things happen, the earth moves. And I was doing volunteer work about 2 weeks later, and the man to my right said, I'm going dancing tonight. I said, where? When? How much does it cost? Can I go? And he said, yeah, it's public. It's open to everybody. It's a lesson on Market Street, and it's Balkan dancing. So it's Macedonian and Greek and Turkish and all these. I've never done this before, but I know how to talk to my feet. So I started dancing on Friday nights, and it's so wonderful. I am now part of the dance community in Santa Cruz, and it's just great. So now I know even more people. And they actually will call me or send me email if I'm not there saying, well, what's wrong? And they've even accused me of cheating on them. Are you cheating? Are you going to salsa lessons now instead of folk dance lessons? It's so great. They're so wonderful. So that was the first thing. The first thing was I needed to build a network, and the second was I need to get my passion back in my life. And actually, dancing lights me up. I had a fear behind dancing, and it's going to sound a little irrational, but I live kind of at the top of the mountain range in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and it takes me 35 minutes to get to dance lessons, and it ended at 10, and I'm normally in bed by 10:30, and I was afraid I was going to fall asleep at the wheel. It's entirely possible. And so I was afraid initially when I went at night, and I discovered not only do I not fall asleep at the wheel, but it gives me so much excitement to do that dancing for 2.5 hours that I can't get to sleep until at least 11. So it all worked out just fine. So that was the second thing. The third thing that I learned was I actually was jammed in some areas, and I couldn't get out. The people that I had met in my social arena weren't the really close people that I could talk to about just anything. And I needed a coach, and I hired a coach. Actually, I got 3 people in my life to coach me. I got a person from SCORE, which is a small business organization in Santa Cruz County for people who have small businesses. I got a mentor from SCORE to help me with my business, which wasn't necessary until I lost my mentor. But through a business thing, my mentor left me, and I couldn't call him anymore. And he was really important in my business. So I got a SCORE coach. I got a woman from my church who was willing to pray for me and my kids. I have 2 teenage boys, and it was a really hard time for me. It's still hard, but that's what we did. We just met, and we talked about the kids, and we prayed together, and that was helpful for me. And I hired a coach because for the first time in 20 years, I decided I was going to date. I had no idea about the rules of engagement anymore. I don't know how to meet men. I had no clue, and I was terrified. So I hired a coach to help me, and she was wonderful. She helped me a tremendous amount, and she was one of the people that I could talk really close with. She was completely on my side and in my court, and she wanted things to get better for me, and she was very helpful. So those are the 3 things I learned. I already had an exercise practice and a gratitude practice and a breathing practice, and I needed to make friends. I needed my social network, and I needed a coach, and I needed to get my joy and my passion back. So those are my tips. Now, I do have another story about fear. I don't know if you ladies would like to hear about fear tonight. Are you interested in a story about how I addressed my 3 greatest fears in life? Yeah, we got a few minutes. It's a story that I actually delivered recently to a thing called a story slam. It was in Campbell, and I won the award that night. But it can be a very engaging story because it's about a rock climb. Has anyone here ever climbed rocks? Okay. Was it locally here?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it like Castle Rock or somewhere? Okay. When I was in high tech one year, I was asked to deploy software around the world. It was the month of December. And they handed me a ticket that said United Airlines business class, one person, one way, any flight in the world. It's an around the world ticket. And I had this, wow, wow. But I was good with it because I had a great support network back at work. I always knew I could call them or send them an email and they would help me out no matter what jam I got into. I had to go to lots of countries. And I'd been rock climbing for about a year, and I sent email to all the guys in Australia, who were the engineers I was going to train. I said, any of you guys climb rocks? And one guy said, yeah, I'll take you on a rock climb. Just bring your harness and your shoes, and I've got everything else. Like, cool. So now I'm going to a country I've never been to climb a rock I've never heard of, led by a man I haven't met. But that didn't feel scary either because I trusted this guy. When I met him, he met all my qualifications. He had to be confident, which he was. He had to be competent. You have a rating on a rock, and he was competent to a rock that was harder than the one that we were going to climb, which is good, and so am I. I'm competent at a higher level. And then he had led this climb before, which is good, so he knows the rock, sort of. So we arrived at the Blue Sisters. I wish we had a picture of the three sisters in the Blue Mountains of Australia. So it's a eucalyptus forest. It's blue. And there are these three stunning peaks that just go straight up next to the ocean. And when we arrived at the second sister, I was surprised there was this huge red sign on the third sister. It said, warning, no rock climbing allowed. The Australian government has deemed this to be dangerous for rock climbing. I said, so what's that about? He said, oh yeah, it's the local joke that nobody climbs the second sister the same way twice because it crumbles as you climb it. Yeah, great, okay. That wasn't the scary part for me because I was confident this guy could do this. So my first great fear was halfway up that rock. And honestly, I hate this move. I have handhold and footholds here. There's an outcropping to my right, and on the other side of that outcropping is the next handhold and foothold. I know they're there because I saw Tim do this, but I can't see them. I know they're there. I have to jump. I hate this move. I call it the Hail Mary move. And I would rather do what's called a chimney climb, where you scrape all the skin off your back, than to actually jump to the next hold. I hate this. So I yelled up at Tim, Tim, what if I can't make this move? And he said, then we got to go all the way back down. Right. I'm not a coward. I can do this. So I said, take up slack. That's the command for him to pull all the slack out of the rope. So now I'm dangling from his hands. And now the next command is the command of desperation. You got me? He says, I gotcha. So that's telling him I'm in a panic, and he has to completely focus on what he's doing. Because literally, if I fall right now, he's holding my life. And I said a little prayer, and I jumped. See that? Jump, like around the rock like this. And I found the holds, and it held me. It didn't crumble. That was the first great fear. So the second great fear, we both heard. It was really loud behind us. Coming across the valley was a thunderhead. We're about 2,500 feet off the ground with our butts sticking out, right? So we can't possibly scramble down to the bottom in time to avoid this thunderhead. And even if we scrambled to the top fast enough, you're a lightning rod at the top of the rock. So the only thing we could do was just plaster ourselves really flat to the rock and wait and see what happened. So that's what we did. We just plastered ourselves to the rock and waited. And about a quarter of a mile before it hit us, that thunderhead took a right and went down the valley, and we never even got wet. It's like, thank you, God. I did not want to fry on that rock. And we got to the top without any more problems. And when I got to the top, there was this feeling of elation and accomplishment and relief, and I cried, and joy and awe, because this blue forest is right out in front of me. I've never seen anything like it. And it was the hardest climb I've ever been on, and I would actually never be on another climb that was harder than that one. And he snapped this picture of me with my hands up like this, sitting on the rock from behind, and you can see the whole blue valley that was worthy of National Geographic. It was so beautiful. And when I delivered my first child, my doctor said to bring a picture that I could focus on when I was going through hard labor because I refused to take drugs, and she knew it was going to be difficult, and that was the picture that I took. You can focus on something you've done before that was hard. But that's not the end of the story, because now we have to get down, right? They weren't going to airlift us out of there. We had to get down the rock. And I knew in my logical brain what the next move was, but it's really difficult because I had to step off the back of a mile-high rock blindly and just drop. That's what the belay starts with, one step off the rock. So there are 5 possible points of failure. There's a rope tied to my harness. That's the first point. It's threaded through a little hook at the top of the rock. It comes around to my right hand, and then there's a brake on the rope, so I'm holding the brake, and then there's my heart. Tim can't help me with this because I have to belay myself. No one helps you on belay. So I had to step off the cliff, and it was scary. And he gave me a lot of encouragement, and I know this is the next move, but my monkey brain says, no, 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 you could die this way. No, 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 it's not going to happen. I said, no, you've got to do this, Lisa. So I said a little prayer, and I stepped off this rock and popped my feet up to perpendicular and bounced my way down to the next platform, and we got all the way down the rock with no problems. It was beautiful. In fact, some people pay extra for belays like this because there's so much adrenaline involved. There are men all around the world who pay extra for this long, complicated belay because all this adrenaline comes in. It was really beautiful. And at the bottom of the rock, I hugged Tim and I said, thank you, you were a great lead. And he said, you're a damn good rock climber. And that was one of the sweetest things he could have said. But what he didn't realize, the biggest thing for me that day was that I had come toe-to-toe with my 3 greatest fears. And that day I'd won. So my 3 greatest fears were the fear of jumping from something I know to something I'm not quite sure about. I know it's there. So that could be moving to a new town. It could be divorce. It could be a new job. Something that you know is there, but you're not quite sure if it's going to hold you, right? The second fear was the fear of just a force of nature that's so big you just have no control. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing I could have done, either of us could have done about that thunderhead, so you just have to wait it out. So that could be something like disease. It could be something like being deeply in love. Maybe that's like your force of nature, something where you absolutely have no control over what's going on. And then the third one is just stepping off into the unknown, and you just know it's the next move you have to make. What's a big move that you've made that's completely like stepping into the unknown? Moving a country? Changing countries?
For me, it's
Divorce. How about for you? Divorce. What was divorce? Was it the new business?
Leaving the practice of law.
Leaving the practice. Yeah, that's big. Because your identities are wrapped up here. How about for you? Starting your own business. 'Cause, Shannon came from high tech. Marisa? What was your name? Marina? Is there something big that you did that you felt like it was stepping into the unknown?
It happens almost every year, like, so move to the US, like, marriage, like, new job, like, new city, so,
Lots of big steps.
I mean, yeah, I'm just, looks like I'm just getting used to have stress every year.
So the trick is learning how to manage it. Yeah.
Sometimes it's difficult, but I'm just learning, like, different, like, life gives you different, like, challenges.
Yep.
But I just try to learn things as challenges and just, like you said, be thankful, grateful, and to see what positive thing can
Uh-huh. Good. Good. Stay positive and walk into the fear. Yeah? How about you? Anything big you can think of?
Well, I've been in a really nice comfort zone for the last 10 years.
Uh,
If I look back, yes, moving to this country, which is a total unknown.
uh,
And then giving up my job to be with my child, that was another
Yep, that's
very
huge.
scary.
That's huge. That also changes your identity, like overnight. Yeah. Done that.
And then moving to another country a few years later.
Okay.
And then coming back again, so a lot of movement.
Done that. All right. Lots of big changes. Excellent. So those were the stories. So you guys were good at listening to the story about fear. I've addressed a lot of fears. I actually named my domain Free of Fears, and my card, you'll all get a copy of my card. My card is called Free of Fears. And I work with women who have blocks in their lives or something happening where they need to make a plan to move forward and get into a happier place. I had a client, she's young, and we thought it was going to be about making a baby and infertility, but actually she wanted, her top desire was to become juicy again, to become happy and joyful again, and there was a sadness in her life because of a lot of unprocessed sadness around death. And we sat down and we worked together on a plan to move forward and a way to change how she was walking through life with the sadness. And within 2 weeks, she called me and she was so excited. And she started making changes in her life that got her back to her juicy self. She made a change. She took a job. She needed a job. And she had a job offer of a really good job that had full benefits, but it was boring. And she took a job working with children where she could actually have a lot of joy and passion in her life. She was so lit up, very excited. And she started really making changes. It was just wonderful. She'd call me and tell me all the wonderful new things in her life. So this is what I do. I am a breakthrough coach for women. And I am offering anyone who is brave enough to come here tonight a free 45-minute breakthrough session. It's called a happiness breakthrough session. It's absolutely free, no obligation. And there are 5 spots left in the month of January. And Shannon is going to circulate a board that has the sign-up sheet on it. And also, I really like getting feedback on my talks because it often informs the next time I talk. And also, if you know any women who are going through infertility, I'd really appreciate you giving them one of my cards because everyone I've talked to who's been through it had no one to talk to, because they kind of go into this dark place by themselves. And so I really appreciate getting their names so that I can talk to them. That's about it. So if Shannon could send the board around.
So what do we do with this very high score?
Oh, you poor thing.
So for the ones that came late, she did an exercise where you have to they have like a score. Like when you go through major changes, you have like a score. So you have to add up all the scores you have. Yeah, exactly. So when you get a really high
So in answer to your question, if you have a really high score, call me and we'll talk about it. We'll go through a 45-minute session. We'll make a little plan to help you get through the really tough things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my experience at least the last year has been very, very challenging. I would say for the last 10 years, but the last year in particular. It's just taking it one day at a time, honestly.
That's good advice.
We all have big visions, big goals, But when you aim too big in a stressful situation, it's overwhelming.
Yes, you can get
because
lost.
You can't even get to the next day.
Yes, you can get
So
lost.
if you have the big goal out there,
Yes.
it can play against you. That's
Right. Right.
So at least so I always say I take one thing at a time, one little step at a time, just baby steps that might or might not take you to that big goal. I mean, we don't even know if we know that big goal anyways, no? Do we all know what is the big goal? No, I don't know you guys, but.
Smaller plans to help you get to the big goal are good.
Is this do you know what the big goal is? We will all say, oh, we're happy. I mean, what is happiness anyways,
And the goals change too over time.
Huh?
And the goals change.
They can.
Too. That's
They
what I
can.
mean. So, it's not that you have what a big goal, because maybe you are lucky enough to have a big goal. I don't. I mean, you have medium-sized goals or things that you would like to achieve to be happier. But it's not that you have if I don't reach that goal, that will be complete happiness.
Actually, that's really important, and I help women to create a vision that's sustainable, because part of the issue with going through infertility is they have an absolute vision. It has to be like this. And life is not necessarily going to give them exactly what that vision is, and they suffer extreme disappointment, and there's a 3 times greater divorce rate for women who've gone through IVF and failed. Very sad, very sad. So I help them build a vision that's sustainable, and there can be a lot of different successes in making a family. Yes, it's very this or nothing, this or nothing.
Exactly. So everything that happens in between, it kind of like, it doesn't meet the expectations. So
Right.
nothing meets your
They get
expectations.
extremely disappointed. It's very sad. Let me read you something that I put on our website this morning for the entrepreneur program. You don't have to have it all figured out to move forward. That's a quote from somebody else. And Sage and her team have been telling us this for months. I was a rock climber, and I admit, one of the greatest things for me about climbing a rock is that you always have to keep moving forward. And the rock simply doesn't care. It's your path up the rock, and you will keep moving or your muscles will fail, and you will have to be lowered down the rock like a limp rag. And then you look at the rock and how you did it the first time, and if you've developed grit, and if you refuse to let this inert slab of stone defeat you, if you've learned a lesson and gathered just a little courage, you climb the rock again, and you keep moving. So that was my little inspirational thing this morning, because I was thinking about rock climbing because I was going to be talking about it tonight. And that's what we have. So if you could, yeah, people have questions? I live in Aptos. Aptos is a little village that's in the mountains. My home is in the mountains that is south of Santa Cruz.
So, for example, you said you have like some sessions for, do you do some over the phone or personal?
I do them on the phone and over Skype.
Or
Mm-hmm.
okay. I like, how is your session go? Like, I don't know. We can discuss it.
We can discuss it. If you sign up on the sign-up sheet, we can definitely discuss it. Any other questions? Thank you so much for listening, ladies. This is really fun.
And can I make one comment on your coaching?
Yes.
Lisa is one of my coaches. She's a mentor to me as well, and she's super inspirational and just kind of helps you pull from within, like, oh yeah, of course I can do this. Like, well, why not? And just makes things so simple and like, I just wanted to say that about Lisa, and trying to be very motivational.
Oh, thank you. You did one of those just what, today or yesterday, huh? Said you could do this, and you did it immediately. Boom. Right?
Sometimes.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What made you decide, what was the deciding moment that you thought that, okay, I want to be coaching, I want to help other women?
Boy, that's a good question. A few things. One is I already own a business in Santa Cruz where we help the elderly, and I've been doing that for 3.5 years. And I decided I want to help people who are younger because I've watched a lot of people at end of life. And although my staff do a wonderful job with all of these people, it's very hard on me emotionally to watch people die. And I want to help people to live more and to be happier and to unblock their... And I thought of all the things that I'd gone through in life, and the hardest one was the infertility. And there was nobody to talk to. And there's an emotional hole that you go into, and your husband only understands a little, and it's the male perspective. I mean, he tries. And there are other women going through it, but they don't put them together in a group so that they can talk to each other. There's no support group for them. So I've started a meetup support group in Santa Cruz, and I'm also starting one in San Jose to help women who want to talk about making a family and have someone to talk with. And I went through the Tony Robbins, Chloe Madonna's coaching program, which is the strategic breakthrough coaching, because I love watching him make a difference in someone's life quickly by finding out what their patterns are and what they're doing. Does that answer your question?
It does.
I have a bachelor's in psychology, but I'm not a psychologist. Yeah.
So I have a question about your dating coach.
Yeah.
How do you find your dating coach?
You know, she was in a network group of people, and she just mentioned briefly to me, so here's how it works for me, and I recommend this to anyone who's looking for a coach. She had an aura that I liked. She's from a different culture than I'm from. We have kids that are about the same age, and that was helpful. But I could tell by looking at her that she and I would connect, and I would totally trust her, because to get into talking about dating, I had to totally trust somebody. And she did help me for 6 months. She was great.
Let me ask you, so what do you need to become a coach? Like, for example, let's say someone from this group like went through some hardship and decided, okay, we want to help people. Like, what do you need to become a coach?
There are lots of certified coaching programs in the United States.
So you need to go back to certified coaching program.
You don't have to, but
I mean, if you don't want, if you say you feel that you will mature, not, for example, I don't know, like,
I don't know all the credentials. I don't even know Sage's credentials, but
She has like a life purpose certification.
Life purpose
She's
certification.
now branched out.
yeah.
so do you need any specific certification courses, or you need some education, like
The
license?
woman that I connected with who was a dating coach, I never asked her qualifications, frankly. I knew she was going to help me, and that was what I wanted. So I don't know if that's true of everybody.
That's interesting, because going back to my previous comment about the acquaintances
Uh-huh.
or real friends,
Uh-huh.
no? Because you have several acquaintances but no real friends.
She was a real connection,
to
yeah.
talk to. And do you think that people like lean towards coaches because they don't find like a good friend that they can really like find good support or
I've thought about that. I've wondered if a lot of it has to do with the fact that the very close friendships we had back when we lived on the farms and everybody was close and all of our friends stayed together forever, if it's all part of the fact that our society is all blasted apart now. I've wondered about that. I don't know. But if you have a really close girlfriend that you can talk to anything about, the problem is your girlfriend generally won't hold you accountable. She loves you, and she says you're fine whatever you do, right? And a coach will help you create goals to move forward and hold you accountable to those goals. Yeah.
But that's accountability, I think, is a big difference, no?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have like, I don't know. I mean, at least myself, I found like my secure place in meditation, for example.
Okay.
Spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
rather than talking, I found it like within.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but that's what happened to me. Like going through life changes, you know? I mean, talking will help, but I don't know.
But maybe you didn't feel stuck. I felt stuck. I needed somebody to help me get unstuck. And I was willing to, I knew that she was willing to get into the fire with me. I mean, we had a lot of very tearful conversations. And I knew that she was a safe person, and I was safe with her. But I couldn't have gone through all that by myself, because I had been stuck for years. So I knew I needed help. Yeah.
And was she successful in helping you, and were you confident in getting out there?
Yeah, she helped me get through something that was really, really hard for me to terminate a relationship that I had to do. And she said, nope, you got to do this. This is just your first step. I'm like, no. I cried rivers over that, but she was right. She was absolutely right, and I did that. And I'm proud of myself for it, because it was a hard move on my part. Yeah, she held me accountable. If I hadn't taken her advice, why would I be hiring her? Yeah.
But how do you know that your coach is right?
I just felt it in here. That's where it was for me. I don't know how it works for guys. But it was right in here. Have you ever worked with a coach of any kind? Oh. Well, I was also an NC2A athlete. I mean, I spent 20 years in competitive courts, and I've had paid professional coaches coach me as an athlete, and I also, we always had to connect with our coach there as well. Some coaches were better for me, and some weren't as good. So I had a lot of experience with coaches.
I have one question to see from my point of view. The thing when both coaches, because my understanding is that when they care more everything inside, they not like the ones that need to talk to everyone
Yeah.
everyone and you forgot what had happened.
Right.
So one should sit in silence. No one, at least my husband, no one should touch him. Like he's thinking something like, don't touch me. Like,
Well, there's definitely truth to that, yeah. Men don't generally seek other men. That's why a lot of men have partners, female partners, right? And that's the emotional intimacy you like, right?
Yeah, but do you like
Open up to your partner.
you man go to coach like for some reason, or you don't think it is like?
They definitely do. There are a lot of
Yeah.
very famous male coaches going.
Do you go to
Um,
coach? Or you
yeah, I'm opening up more and coming to really realize the benefits of it. I think traditionally, I'm kind of a pretty traditional man, but I like to figure out my problems myself.
Yeah, I agree.
But I agree, I think you can have blocks, right? And when you hit a block, I think there's a benefit to something like that. And, you know, it's only recently that I've come to realize that. I'm a typical man, right?
Yeah, I'm
Deal with
just so
their stuff.
interested.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah. Just sound like a man thing, right?
I think men are more likely to go to a business coach. They feel really comfortable with business
Oh,
coaches.
yeah, yeah. Men don't, yeah. I don't like opening it up unless it's a partner that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
I think women are more
See,
natural
poor
to open
things.
up, right?
Good one, like.
But I think it's culture based as well. I don't know. Men, we are from Latin cultures.
How many people here are from Latin cultures? One, two?
We too.
Two, okay.
But men.
Oh, they open up more in the Latin cultures?
No, men, yeah, they
Oh.
get together with friends, they talk about
Oh.
everything, you know? So
That's
it's
a blessing.
more like I don't know, you know, they are more open about their
They
emotions.
can dance salsa too.
They do.
Oh, I love it.
They're more passionate. Yeah, and probably they're closer to their heart. So if they need to talk to their male friends, their male friends, you know, they talk, no?
Yeah.
All right,
Oh.
so they do share more about their emotions.
And also women, you know, we have a lot more support because then you have like really close friends and neighbors, like, and so the community is really tight and there's a lot more support, family.
It's very, family is very important.
It's hard that people talk more.
Yeah, and we talk all the
No,
time.
so they don't hold everything to
No.
themselves.
Yeah.
I lived in Costa Rica, and there was a 7.5 earthquake when I was there, and within 3 hours, 3 generations of the family were sitting in the same room. Within 3 hours, I mean, there were no buses running, everything was completely in chaos, and they were together within 3 hours. I was impressed. It took me 3 days to get a line out of the country, a phone line, to call my mother, and she said, "What earthquake?" I was like, "Ugh." So I called my boss. He said, "Oh, we've been so worried about you." So thank you. Someone cares.
I've never actually, like in my life, I never, even though I had problems, but I never really like found professional help because I had the support of my family.
And your girlfriends. That's great.
So, but now, you know, fast forward, now I'm, you know, facing the divorce, and I was like, what do I do? Now I had nobody to turn to. And that was...
Not even your
that was-
girlfriends?
No, because all my friends were part of the family, so they were like friends that were, you know, marriage or couples or...
That sucks.
And I really couldn't open up to anybody for the longest time. So then that's when I really like started finding like a therapist, and I never had a coach, really like a coach. It's more like a therapist, which was more like a professional,
Right.
you know, prepared, you know, so that she could guide me through the whole process. And I mean, definitely, if I could have not done it without, you know, those two. Actually, I had two therapists. And
Well, it's good that worked for you.
it. But definitely, I think that now I'm like venturing out to getting more like coaches. And so this is, I think, a really good place for me.
I did go to a lot of professional therapists when I was married. We both together went for 6 years, and it actually did not work for me. I like it when someone can give me practical advice to move forward instead of all the analyzing all your family connections and all that stuff. I like the practical, move forward stuff. So that really works for me. Anyway, I'm done talking. And we can celebrate with all the food and everything we have around here, yeah? Yeah? All right.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much.